Despite being one of the most iconic franchises throughout the entirety of NBA history, the Knicks have definitely had their fair share of disappointment over the course of the last decade and a half. There's been the occasional bright spot like the Carmelo Anthony era, where they had their deepest postseason run since 2010, where they would face off against the Indiana Pacers, ultimately losing in 6 games. Things might have started to look up a little bit with the drafting of Kristaps Porzingis, but as a lot of us know, that was a pretty short-lived experience since Porzingis was plagued by injuries and Carmelo Anthony was starting to show early signs of decline. Both their former franchise player Carmelo Anthony and Kristaps Porzingis, who was expected to take the mantle as their franchise player, were traded away, continuing the vicious cycle that we so often see teams go through when they're trying to replicate former success. Since then, it's been an arduous process to assemble something even remotely resembling a contender, which finally occurred when Julius Randle catapulted into an all-NBA third-team caliber player. But outside of a first-round exit 2 years ago, a lot of NBA fans have been waiting to see whether or not the Knicks are back into that quote-unquote consistent playoff contender tier of teams. Despite their record sitting just above 500 at the time of this recording, the Knicks have been trending upwards fairly significantly over the course of their last 15 games. The acquisition of Jalen Brunson, the resurgence of Julius Randle, and the steady improvements from RJ Barrett have helped catalyze a stretch of games that give reason to believe that New York is very much heading in the right direction. Over the course of these last 15 games, the Knicks sit at 10-5, and they boast the 5th best offense in the NBA with 116.9 points per 100 possessions, and the 2nd best defense with 106.9 points allowed per 100 possessions, and the number 1 net rating with +10. It appears as though Tom Thibodeau has figured out a consistent game plan that integrates some of the young guys that I know Knicks fans have been begging for him to give more playing time to, and it's finally starting to pay off. They've beaten good teams too. It's not as though they've been beating up on teams that are actively tanking. They have wins against the Cavs, the Kings, the Suns, the Warriors, and the Pacers. One of the biggest things that's been sticking out lately is their defense. The Knicks employ a fairly switch-heavy defense, and they don't always camp their bigs out in the paint, oftentimes having Mitchell Robinson play closer to the level of the screen, even if he ends up shifting more into drop coverage. Julius Randle switches onto Craig with Mitchell Robinson covering 𝙖𝙗𝙤𝙪, as well as the drive inside the paint, forcing Craig to kick it out to the perimeter, and the other guards on the floor shut down anything on the wing, with the possession ultimately resulting in a difficult mid-range shot for 𝙖𝙗𝙤𝙁. Their guards do a ton of pre-switching as well, making it a lot more difficult for their opponents to get the space that they want off of screens. 𝙖𝙗𝙁𝙁 runs this handoff for Shamet, but Brunson gets caught up in the pin down near the baseline, so Quickley immediately switches onto Shamet before he even gets the ball. Mitchell Robinson goes as far as lightly hedging the pick and roll, with Randle blocking off the drive and Brunson blocking the pocket pass to 𝙖𝙗𝙁, so Chris Paul is forced to pass it into the corner, and the Suns are once again forced to live with a mid-range pull-up from 𝙖𝙗𝙁 late in the shot clock. When the entire defense is firing on all cylinders, you get defensive possessions like this one, with seamless switching across the board and every pass being answered by a new defender filling the space that the offense is trying to create. One specific aspect of the Knicks when it comes to their defense is the dynamic that exists between Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson when they're on the floor together. This duo clocks a defensive rating of 107.9 in the 1,451 possessions played together so far this season, and you combine that with an offensive rating of 120, this duo is clearly doing something right. The emergence of Quentin Grimes and Immanuel Quickley have been a fulcrum for their defensive success. Despite Quickley only being 6'2" and Grimes being 6'5", these two are able to defend really well in the backcourt, and they're a large part of why the Knicks are able to get away with so much switching against their opponents. When Miles McBride has been allowed to play alongside these three, their defense has been sensational. On this possession, I want you to notice the communication going on and how much switching there is as a result of it. The initial action is the staggered screens for Jalen Green, but McBride does a great job of navigating them and shutting down any potential drive and forcing the ball out of Green's hands. Meanwhile, Mitchell Robinson is going to tell Grimes to stay with Kevin Porter Jr. so that he can stay with Fernando instead of getting switched onto a guard, which would create a mismatch. The Rockets fake this handoff with Grimes fighting over the screen, and even though the pass connects with Fernando on the roll, Randle is waiting there at the rim to deter any shot. The ball gets slung out to Jabari Smith, but McBride makes the corner rotation, Grimes makes the rotation to the wing, and Quickley rotates to the top of the key, with Randle finally closing out on Eric Gordon's shot. Quickley and Grimes do a great job of communicating their hedges and recovering accordingly, with Quickley coming up to guard Harden if he rejects the screen, pointing Randle to stay with Niang in the corner. Tobias Harris switches the angle of his screen, prompting Quickley to hedge and recover onto Harris, but Randle will slot over to guard Harris if he drives. When Harris kicks it out to Niang, Quickley is already going to be there to close out on him and force the drive, with Randle rotating out to the perimeter to alter the shot. Not only does New York have solid interior defense from their front court, but they're also getting really solid defensive performances from their backcourt as well, with Quickley and Grimes becoming one of the better defensive guard duos in the NBA. Real quick guys, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Underdog Fantasy. With Underdog's NBA Pick'em, they make it super simple to win big. They've got individual player props to pick from for every single NBA game. All you have to do is pick higher or lower, and once you have your slip, make your wager and submit. You can make wagers for as low as $1 and win anywhere from 3 times your money all the way up to 20 times your money. And now with Pick'em Insurance, you can still win money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Sign up using code AlexHoops with the link in the description today, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. Be sure to play responsibly, and thanks again to Underdog for sponsoring today's video. It's not just the defense from New York that's impressed me, although I will say that's probably been more of their calling card this season. Offensively, there's just so much to like about what this team has been doing over this recent stretch. One of the standout performers has been Quentin Grimes, who's seen an increased role lately, and he's been excelling with a larger portion of minutes. Over his last 15 games, he's putting up 14.1 points per game on 46.7% shooting from the field and 40.2% from 3 on 6.8 attempts per night. You pair that with his developing passing ability and high-level defense, and you've got a perfect complementary piece for this squad. A lot has been made of the contract that New York gave Jalen Brunson. A ton of people were calling it a massive overpay, but I'm of the belief that he's lived up to this contract pretty well. He's been an efficient 20-point per game scorer, and his passing has shown through significantly since stepping into this role as a primary ball handler and major offensive facilitator. He's got good chemistry with Mitchell Robinson in the pick and roll, consistently baiting defenses on his drives to open up easy lobs for Mitch to throw it down. The Knicks run this Spain pick and roll to perfection, with Quickley coming to set the screen on Robinson's defender so that he can get open in the paint, and Brunson sends him the pass for the easy alley-oop finish. He's to the point now where he can really leverage his interior scoring gravity, generating looks for perimeter shooters to knock down open shots from his passes when defenses collapse on him. He can manipulate defenses really well, faking this handoff on the empty corner to get going downhill, forcing the defense to come over and provide help from the corner, opening up the easy pass for the knockdown shot off of the catch. He'll snake pick and rolls, keeping defenders on his hip while actively pulling more defenders towards him and making them uneasy, just so he can swing it out to the arc for high percentage looks. When you put this alongside Julius Randle and RJ Barrett, that's a lot of scoring, especially considering what RJ Barrett was doing before he went out with an injury. In the 10 games prior to his injury, he was averaging 25 points and 6.2 rebounds per game on 44.6% shooting from 3 on 5.6 attempts per night. He looked like a legitimate all-star. With Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle both playing exceptionally well this season, this is a lot better of a trio to build around than I think it really gets credit for. I know that it's become commonplace to clown on the Knicks for the mistakes of the front office over the years, but they've slowly but surely clawed their way back into the mix. They're still hovering around 500, but they currently hold the 6th seed in an Eastern Conference that's been pretty tightly contested throughout the season so far. If they continue to string together wins like they have been, I'm pretty confident that this team is capable of securing a playoff spot outright without the need to go through the play-in tournament, and depending on how RJ Barrett looks when he returns from his injury, this could be the year that they give some teams problems in the postseason. So do you guys think that the Knicks are going to make the playoffs? And if so, how far do you think they're going to make it? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, let me know, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe. That's the #1 way to support me and help me keep making content. Thanks again to Underdog for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to click the link below to sign up now. It helps me out a ton. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.